Welcome, everybody, to today's session on UiPath Agentic AI Enablement Series. This is the first series that we're going to be doing in our workforce initiative, or Upskill to Agentic Automation. And I just want to thank our partners that we have: Greenlight Consulting, Boundaryless, Her Second Innings, and Center Consulting for working with us on these sessions and providing these out to you guys. So today, I just want to introduce the team. I'm Diana Gray. I'm the Senior Community Marketing Manager for America. And I'm going to let everybody else introduce themselves. We have Rahul here, Mukesh, Gabrielle, Nadia, Ebru, and Lagesh. So if you guys just want to say a quick hello, that'd be great.
Yep, I can get started. Thanks, Diana. Good morning, good evening, everyone. So my name is Rahul Goyal. I'm Senior Director at Ellucian. Been with UiPath as a customer for many years now, and then as a UiPath MVP for a couple of years now. So very much engaged with Diana and the team on the community side, and then working with all the partners at Boundaryless and others to look into any new innovation that come in the UiPath space, and then see how best we can, as a customer, as a business, leverage these new technologies. So I'm excited to be here to share my experience and how we're using it here, and then so you all can at least get some idea as to what it means when it comes to the real life business perspective. So happy to be here. Thanks.
Great.
Mukesh, the next.
Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Mukesh Kala, joining from India. I am leading the hyper automation practice for Boundaryless Group. I am a 5 times UiPath MVP and happy to be here.
And Nadia?
Hi, everyone. I'm Nadia. I'm a senior automation developer and automation lead at Boundaryless, and I'm glad to be supporting for this session. Please, if you have any questions, send them so we can go through them and enjoy the session.
Thank you. And Lagesh, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sounds good, Diana. Hi, everyone. My name is Logesh. I'm a technical architect from Cubotica, and I've been in the automation space for almost 13 plus years now. I'm here to help you with any questions related to these topics. If you have any questions post this session, feel free to reach out to me through LinkedIn or through forum as well. Happy to help.
Great. Thank you. So today is the first of 4 sessions. As hopefully you guys know, each of these sessions will be happening over this week. So we'll have one tomorrow, then the next day, then the next day. I'm going to be putting the information on how to register if you haven't registered for the second session tomorrow in the chat, just to make sure that you guys consistently get the best learning out of this session. The other thing I just want to remind you is that when you register for these events, please make sure that you're looking at the course descriptions, because they have the prerequisites or the work that you're supposed to do and required to do in order to get all that you need to out of these sessions. So if you have any questions about that, we are going to be able to help you on the forum, and I'll go to that next. So the other thing I'll be putting in chat is just some of the important links that you'll need. If the link to the series page will take you to where you can register for the events. The recordings for the series that I'm recording today can be found at UiPath Americas. And then the forum thread is where you're going to ask any questions that you have. When you hear the session today, take any notes down of anything you need, or put them in the chat so we can answer them, and then we'll be going through those. So, okay. So Mukesh, let me stop steering.
Okay, so let me know, Diana, when you want me to.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and get started? I'm going to go ahead and do the Menti quiz in a little bit, but go ahead and get started.
Okay. Okay, so let me share my screen, guys, and let me know once you are able to see that.
We got it, Mukesh.
Okay, great. Cool. So let me start by having a, let me first, maybe I'll just go to my background, and I have to turn off my background because I want to show you something. Yeah. Okay, cool. So we are doing this session on agentic, right? But I understand that many of you might be here who have no idea about agentic and no idea about RPA. That's absolutely fine. Let's start very simple. Okay. There is a guy, there is a kid who has a car, something like this. That's why I have to turn off my virtual camera, right? So if you see, this is a car in my hand, right? And the car is a manual car, which means that if I have to push this car forward, I would have to push it. If I have to move it backward, I have to move it back. If I have to make it to move fast, I would have to push it very fast, right? So that's a car which I have, that's the same kid is having, right? So now the problem with that is, anytime there is an obstacle which is happening, there is that guy who has to actually push it. In terms of automation, if you realize that this is what actually is in a process where there is no automation, everything is dependent on human. Everything, if you have to move the car, you have to do something. If you have to download Excel, you have to do it manually. So this is a scenario where there is no automation at all, right? And as a human and as a business person, we all are supposed to do that because that's why you are hired. Now what happens? The story evolves. Now what happens? The guy gets a remote control car, something like this, right? Now this is a remote control car. What happens in the remote control car is, now, the remote control car, you can think it of a technology called RPA. It has got 4 buttons. If I have to move the car forward, I have to click on the forward button and the car moves forward. If I have to go backward, I have to click a button on my remote and it goes backward. And that's all the purpose. At least the automation part is done. But now this one also has a problem, which means that the car only follows the instruction which are given by the remote. At any point of time, let's say there is a huge rock in front of the car, it cannot go forward because it will just wait that, okay, you told me to go forward, but there is a rock in front of me. You didn't tell me that. What should I do? Should I take a left? Should I take a right? It is entirely driven by the kid with the help of a remote. And the problem with that is, anytime any obstacle is happening, you are just stuck there. That is an example of robotic process automation. So all our manual tasks were automated with the help of a technology called RPA, robotic process automation. But now what happened? As a developer, we used to code, do this, do this, do this, do that. And whenever there is an obstacle, the robot used to just stay like a car, right? Okay, I don't know. You didn't told me what to do. There is an additional pop-up on the screen and the robot is saying, okay, you didn't told me what to do. Should I click OK? Should I click cancel? And that was RPA, robotic process automation, and it was there for years. Now what happens? The era evolves, right? Now everything got smart, and it got something like this. What you see on my screen, it's a fancy car, which is a autonomous car, the latest future agentic car. What does it do? Into the agentic car, you just have to tell the car that what I want to do, and that's it. This was an autonomous car. It automatically decide. So you just tell the car that go from point A to point B. It automatically drives through the way. If it is able to, if it is encountering an, let's say, an obstacle, it is able to find the best route, that which I should take a left, I should take a right. It automatically drive itself. You as a human have to just provide your input. And that is what agentic AI does. So in simple terms, in agentic AI, it is not rule driven. Same like the car have sensors, it plans the route and does everything. Agentic AI is a technology that actually goes, understand the environment. You just have to tell that this is what I want, and the agents will identify that what I need to do. They'll plan, they will go to the goal, and they will just do everything. So in a real-time example, for example, an agentic system would be, as soon as the email is arriving on the system, the agent identifies that it's a complaint email and it automatically take an action. If it is an appreciation email, the agent just say thank you. No rules, nothing defined. You just have given an objective that you are supposed to reply to an email, and that's just the job. That's what is agentic AI. So over a period of time, we as technology have evolved from manual job to automation to agentic, right? So the manual was which was entirely human driven, then came the RPA, robotic process automation, and then now we are sitting in something which is called agentic AI. Now, just a quick example. other example to give you the context, right? There are a group of kids who are playing football. Now, somebody just kicks the football and it went into the bushes. Now, what happens? As a rule, they say that the kid who is closer to the ball will fetch the ball. So that's the manual way of doing it. However, if I have to put agentic into this situation, what I'll do is somebody buys a toy who is a robot, let's call him a scout. So scout job is to make sure that every time the ball is out from this parameter, go and find the ball. So what happens now? How does it works? It understands that my job is to make sure that the ball stays in the field. As soon as it finds out that the ball is not in the field, it finds out where is the ball, it go through the benches, take a left, take a right, bring the ball, and take an action on that. So basically, in terms of agentic, agents can understand, they can plan, and they can also take an action. In this case, it was simply like understanding that the ball is missing, planning that to take the ball, I have to take a left, I have to take a right, and then the action would be bring the ball, give it back to the kids, right? That's why Scout is an agentic. It can perceive, it can plan, and it can take actions. Now, with all this theory, what is an agentic AI? Agentic AI is a system which is capable of perceiving its environment. Same like the car was able to understand that I have to take a left or a right. The scout was able to understand that yes, the ball is missing. It can perceive, it can plan, and it can also take action within the predefined boundaries. Think of an agent as a smart program which is defined to do a specific task. We just have to give the task, it identifies this environment, and just go to the final task. It can be a robot. As soon as you come to home, it's find that okay, my friend is at the home, he looks tired, let me give him some snacks. But just looking at the environment, it is able to find you the thing. Smart alarm clock, right? Rather than you setting up the alarm for every day 7 a.m. in the morning, the smart alarm says that okay, today Mukesh is sleeping, let's say 12 a.m. in the night, so let me give him 8 hours sleep and let me automatically shift the alarm to 8 a.m. That's agentic, right? I'll take a pause, guys, for you guys to have any questions. And if you understood what is agentic, and then I'll give the session to Rahul to point it through an enterprise point of view, right? So if you guys understood that what exactly is agentic, maybe just comment in the chat agentic so that we understand it, at least you know the basics so that we can go to the next one. Okay, I see a couple of thumbs up. Great. Okay, cool. Before Rahul, Diana, you want to come up with the
Yeah, mentor.
Yeah, I
mentee
think
quiz now?
yeah, let me try to do that. My
Okay,
screen was kind of crashing before, but let me see if I can do that real quick.
okay,
Okay.
great.
Yeah, so if everybody can see this, can you just put this, please use the QR code to log in? So basically what this is going to be is just a couple of questions because this is a workforce development program at UiPath. So we're just trying to find out like where you guys are as an audience. Do you need help? Like, are you doing these programs? Are you doing the learning to upskill or reskill? So if everybody can use the QR code, I'm gonna just give you another minute to sign in. And then I'll get started. So the first question is really, did you work in the public sector?
Hey, Ravi.
Okay, thank you. The next one is, please let us know if you were let go from your job in 2025. One of the reasons we're putting on these series is because a lot of people were let go, so we're just making sure we're capturing part of that audience. And then the next question are, why are you taking the training from UiPath? Is this because you want a new skill, to upskill, to certify? Just kind of want to find out. Great. And then the last question, are you here to get help finding a new job career? Because ultimately that'll be part of our series as well. Okay, perfect. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to stop sharing then and turn it over to you, Rahul.
Let me just quickly pull up my screen just to, I mean, some of these slides.
No, yeah, I can see your slides.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so just to add to what Mukesh was covering, so I'm going to skip some of this slide just because he already covered on this one. But as a customer, as a business, I think this is how the evolution happened to us also. We started with a very traditional RPA, which was needed at that time. I think until RPA came in, there are a lot of routine work that used to happen with the manual intervention and all that was adding a lot of overhead from the end user, from a business standpoint, and which was causing a lot of extra time and effort from a business perspective. So the RPA came in at the right time when it was needed, and then definitely there was a need to automate all the mundane routine work, and then that's how we started also the business from a RPA standpoint. But then as things evolved to Mukesh's example of car getting transitioned from a traditional manual way of managing the car into a more autonomous car, the same thing as business is evolving also. It's no longer just the traditional way of automating it. There should be some intelligence also behind it. If you're automating certain things, you want to make sure that you're not just automating your routine work, but also you're automating in a more intelligent way of doing things. There are some actions and a reaction based on that. If there's some action taken, there'll be some sort of a follow-up action that needs to be taken as a result of that action. So that's where the intelligent automation and the agentic AI comes in. So that's where the evolution is from as any business is evolving. It's no longer just, and I saw some of the chat. The question has come up in the chat. People are asking about should we be talking about RPA or should it be agentic? And it's a combine. It's not just the RPA alone itself is going to meet the need of the evolution from a business standpoint. It has to be a intelligent RPA combined with and I'll come to my next slide just to give more real-time examples as to how we are getting benefited, how we see other customers are getting benefited with the evolution of AI and RPA. So, of course, from a like Mukesh said, the Gen AI comes in when it comes to the data. When it comes in business, is not only always structured data. You cannot expect the data to be more structured or in the same format every time. That it comes in a variety of format. It comes in variety of unstructured data, different type of images, different type of ideas comes in. So there has to be a tool that can dynamically adjust and evolve and make decisions and actions based on the pattern and the trend that has been happening in the past, and also on the fly make some real-time actionable task, meaningful task to move forward. Regardless of the type of a data coming in, there should be an intelligence behind it. How do you implement any action? How do you trigger a workflow? How do you adapt to the new circumstances? How do you make a decision as to what next, so that it's a human type of an interaction that's needed from a day-to-day automation standpoint. That's where the AI and the RPA mix coming together. So in the next slide, here are some of the examples. So just to walk you through what typically happen in a day-to-day, and then how AI and RPA together. Very good example from a finance standpoint is we get a lot of invoices from our customer and from a vendor standpoint. Many times when an invoice comes in, just to give you some business flavor, we buy a lot of services in a day-to-day basis. You order something on the Amazon.com or maybe on any other portal. Similarly, business buy a lot of things on a daily basis. Could be services, could be product. And then at the end of it, you get an invoice where you have to pay to that vendor for the services you have procured or you have bought from that vendor, right? The traditional way of doing things was an invoice comes in, someone has to manually go in and match that invoice against the quantity received or against the quantity we have ordered against to a vendor. Someone has to manually go in and match those invoices. That's one way of doing it. But many times an invoice may or may not match to what we ordered and what we received. There could be some quality differences. There could be some something that went lost in the transit, or maybe we feel that the service given to us is not up to the standard which we agreed from a vendor standpoint. So there's always a mismatch between what's getting charged to us versus what we order. So there used to be a lot of manual intervention back and forth between the accounting clerk and the vendor and also the end user. As compared to that, now with the introduction of AI and the RPA, that whole process is touchless, where an invoice comes in, an agent which is sitting there and monitoring those invoices can parse the data coming in on this PDF or however the format. And you can imagine that if you're dealing with hundreds of vendors, you cannot expect the data to be in a consistent format from every vendor, right? So it could be in variety of a data coming in. How does agent become smartly and understand our type of a format coming in and then parse the data and understand what it needs to do, connect to the system, try to find the right level of a purchase order or a transaction it has to match against. And if it's not matching, email the vendor, highlighting the exceptions, what's not matching. So that's all. I think the whole process is now touchless, where input, parsing the data, processing the data, error handling, exception handling, that's a pretty big routine work for any accounting thing. Expense audit, like a lot of expense claims comes in. If you're traveling, a lot of expense report get filed on a daily basis. Employee travel from A to B, and then they claim their expense report. They file all type of receipts, dinner, airfare. There are a lot of audit rules that happen behind the scene. Again, a similar theme here that someone has to audit those expense reports against the business audit rules as to what is allowed and not allowed to be reimbursed. A lot of these things are now going through the automation with the AI into the mix as to flagging what's not allowed, why it is not allowed, and then accordingly doing exception handling. What we see as a customer is that overall, from a financial closing perspective, it plays a lot of big role in terms of closing the books on a monthly basis, as compared to have all the accounting people doing the transaction on a daily basis. There's a lot of process given to the agent where they execute all type of Excel reconciliation, downloading the data, uploading the data, comparing the Excel to Excel files, making a decision, identifying the exceptions, and then accordingly sending notifications to the right people who needs to make an action on that. I think those are the perfect example where we are seeing the business is evolving and taking big benefit out of the touchless and the humanless, more agent sitting behind the scene and doing all this work, and then bring the human more from a strategic actions and thinking perspective. Employee engagement is a big one for where we have seen a lot of intervention coming in from an agent standpoint in the hiring process. There are companies who are using agents to do all type of screening of the resumes. As you start hiring for any job description, a lot of resumes comes in. Instead of a recruiter sitting and scanning through those resumes, there are agents now doing that work where they are receiving the resumes, downloading from the website, comparing against the job description, flagging what resume is matching and what's not matching, accordingly responding back to the candidate. If it's matching, doing the initial round of screening also. We have seen that where agents are also talking to the candidates to do first round of screening and then do a pass or fail based on the rules defined there, and then accordingly bring the human to the rightful selected candidates and the resumes which they should be focusing on. I think that's a big change and transition of how traditional HR functions used to be from a recruiting standpoint and how they're evolving now with the agentic AI and the RPA combination to take away a lot of manual intervention in the process, and then have the HR and the recruiter focus on finding the right candidate and then making sure the experience from a candidate standpoint is a modern and the world-class experience. So that's another use case I wanted to highlight. Other thing which we have seen is more from a service desk standpoint. There are a lot of intelligence getting built in, as you can imagine, in a typical corporate world, a lot of help desk ticket comes in every day. A lot of people raising internal requests, a lot of people requesting all type of IT peripherals or keep creating some issues from a system standpoint. There are a lot of knowledge that is built in over time, but then in the absence of this type of intelligence, it's becoming difficult to somebody to leverage and get benefited out of the prior issues that have already been responded. Right in the past, every time a ticket comes in, you start fresh, you start responding to the ticket, start solving the ticket, whereas the same ticket might have been responded back hundreds of times in the previous months and years. Now we have agents sitting there, keep a track, keep parsing, keep an intelligent check on what's been in the knowledge hub that's getting built in over time. And the first line of defense is these agents responding and reacting and providing the solutions and providing the links and the KB articles and anything, whatever is relevant to that, back to the end user. And then if there's some exception which cannot be responded back based on the prior trend, that's where the human comes in and then takes over. But all the manual triage that used to happen in the past is no longer a manual or a human type of an exercise. It's all agent-driven exercise, bucketing it out, and then providing the guidance and support back to them. The last one, on the similar one, is that the supplier, like if you're a big manufacturing company, a lot of things happen in terms of the negotiation with the supplier. How do you validate the delivery schedule so that you're not missing any key milestone on your production cycle? How do you reconcile the discrepancies? How do you approve certain things, disapprove certain things, which is very, very time consuming, and it requires a lot of knowledge and experience to make some decisions. That's where a lot of agentic AI is coming in to automate some of those processes and making determination decisions on the fly. So the whole idea in these two slides I'm trying to tell you that more like not only the day-to-day life as a human, but from a business standpoint, there are a lot of business functions that are getting further and further intelligence from the automation standpoint, where agents are coming in and helping and taking over, help make the right decision on the right time, and then bring the right type of a people as needed. So I think it's that's in a nutshell wanted to highlight as to where things are changing and how businesses are benefiting from a day-to-day standpoint, monthly closing, reconciliations, audit happens with the auditors. A lot of those areas where agentic AI is chiming in and then helping a lot from this standpoint. With that said, I think now we'll hand it over back to Mukesh to get more technical into the topic. Unless there's any question on what we covered so far in the chat, we can take it now.
Okay, thank you, Rahul.
Okay. Back to Mukesh.
And let me just pull up my screen again. Okay, share the screen. Okay, are you able to see my screen?
Yep, we can.
Okay. So now the next thing is, see, the topic for today is prompt engineering, right? So I do not directly want to get into the technicals of prompt engineering, but I want to ask you some questions and maybe let's discuss it as a group, right? If you don't want to put it on the chat, that's also fine, right? Let's discuss. So for example, you just receive a text message and the text message says it's ready. So it's Monday evening, you receive a message on your phone which says it's ready. Now, without context, what do you know? If you have ordered a pizza, then you understand it's if the pizza is ready or not. But without context, you as a human are left guessing whether the dinner is ready, the project is ready, or the pizza is ready. So basically, to understand anything as a human, we need context. And if we are talking, if I am considering the same thing in an agentic system where there is an AI involved, which means that context becomes important. All of this, whatever I'm discussing, when we actually go to the definition of prompt engineering, all of this will add up, right? So right now I'm just talking about how as a human we use context in day-to-day basis. So importance of tone and setting. For example, if I just say you are unbelievable and while I was saying, I was smiling, I was, laughing. So that means that I am telling you that you are actually a funny guy. However, if I said the same statement, you are unbelievable, without any happy face, what does that mean? It means that I am angry. Statement is same, only my tone differs. So based on that, actually you as a human are able to understand what exactly is happening, right? Context like facial expression, tones clarifies the meaning. But AI does not have a face. AI cannot see my face. AI cannot understand my expression till the time it's a video call, right? That's a different topic altogether. So if I have to tell something to an AI, how do I make sure that I make AI understand that I mean it by smiling or I am saying it angry, right? So that means that the tone and setting becomes important. Let's say you are driving with a friend and your friend says that turn left at the next light. You need to know to make the sense of it. If it's a new city, the instruction without context become confusing. The same concept actually we apply as a human communication also. Humans heavily rely on the context for anything. So for example, if I just say that a word called bank. Now, bank can be a financial institution or it can be a river bank. So, if I just say I saw a bank on my way to work, what does that mean? If I am living in, let's say, a city, I mean that I saw a bank, which means that it is a financial institution. But if I'm living in a village and I say that I saw a bank on my way to work, that means I'm referring to a river bank, right? So clarity in ambiguity comes when you actually use the proper phrases, and as a human, we use that. Understanding relationships. So, for example, if I'm sitting at a family dinner and somebody says, pass me the salt, so there are six people who are sitting into a table, let's say in a dining table, and you just say pass the salt without you specifically mentioning the person that pass me the salt. Anyone who is sitting close to the salt will pass you the salt. So that's how, as a human, we understand relationships. But what about AI? How the AI would be able to understand the clarity and ambiguity? How the AI will be able to make this relationship? Let's talk about decision, right? If I just say, let's go out, now, depending on the time, weather, location, we as a human, we understand that it's time for a walk, it's a dinner, or we are talking about a weekend trip, right? Okay, I am going to mute someone, Anil. Okay. So, yeah. So, without any context, if we just say, let's go out, nobody is able to understand what do you mean. As a human, we are able to understand, but what about the AI, right? And that's where comes LLM. So all of this till this point was human communication. Now LLM, when I say, simply means large language models, which is the brain behind all of your chat GPT, Perplexity, Cloud, whatever you're using, right? Now, how does LLM use that? LLMs, large language models like chat GPT, are designed to process human-like inputs. So you might have already used that. To do that, they effectively rely on the context, which means that if I want the exact output from an AI, I would need to provide a better input. Otherwise, I will not get my relevant output. And that's what is called the prompt engineering. So, for example, when you are having a conversation with your friend, you logically remember what they have said earlier to make the next statement. LLM also works in the similar way. They look back to the input, they understand the context and give you the output. Okay. So what does LLM do? LLM actually divides the input, whatever you give as a prompt, into small tokens. This is too much technical for you, but I am not going into much details. But if you are looking, to build more of the agentic solutions, then you might need to understand that how does LLM work. So this is a very high level. Whenever you say something to the LLM, so you simply say I love Apple. So LLM is going to split that into different small chunks, that is known as tokens. Every LLM has something which is called context window, which means that how much information they can store. After some time, if the context window is full and if you have something to the LLM, they won't be able to understand it, right? So that's why when you are dealing with an LLM, you need to understand how the tokens are managed, what is the context window, and how does LLM predict the next word. So when you are giving an input, so you say that I love apples and you say and, definitely it understand that yes, apple is a fruit and not a computer device, right? I'm not talking about Apple, the laptop, or the MacBook, because we are considering and talking about the fruits and vegetables. So when you say I love apples and you put a space, it will say bananas or mangoes, something related to fruit. But let's say our conversation is about, let's say, computers, hardware, softwares, all these IT devices, and then you say that I love Apple and you say and, then you might get an option like iPhone or MacBook or other options, right? So LLMs use that all of that together to understand the context, right? So let me quickly show you some of the examples, and then we'll go to try to relate it to UiPath. Okay. So you are able to see my ChatGPT screen. Rahul,
Yes,
can you please
Mukesh.
confirm? Okay, great. So this is ChatGPT, and I believe all of you would have used it, right? So let me quickly copy paste some of the prompts. So I'm going to ChatGPT, which is an LLM, and I just say, how do I reset my password? And what happens? I get an answer, right? It gave me an answer, but without any context. It says that, okay, you go to this, it assume that you are using some kind of services and all, it given any answer, right? You would receive in that and that, right? Without any context. But let's say, if the same question I ask again with a little bit of more context, a user forgot the user ID and password in a corporate Active Directory account, write a step-by-step instruction to help them the reset. Now what would happen? Because I have given the context into my prompt. So whatever I'm writing here, all of this is mentioned as a prompt. And whenever you are dealing with agentic, you need to understand how do I work with prompt effectively, right? So first thing you would have realized is that importance of all of this, whatever I discussed, right? So now based on my input, it has given me much more detailed answer along with much more steps, which actually make sense to me. So whenever you are talking to an LLM, we are writing automations, make sure you provide enough context for the LLM, because LLMs don't have any information. So let's try to see something else. Fixing the code, right? I'm just writing something like fix this code for me. And I'm just pasting a code here. I'm saying to the LLM that fix this code for me. It can be simply like write an automation building robots, agentic AI and all, right? And without it giving me any information, it just assumed that I am using this and it given me some kind of answer. However, if I would have just given one additional input to it, which is something like this, like I am trying to calculate the total price including, can you fix this code for me? Now what will happen? Now, since it has understood my end goal, it would actually generate the response as per what I want, not as per the LLM. So context helps the model to understand the intention and not just the syntax. Why we are talking all of that is because when you are building AI agents, these are the things which the agents will expect from you. So the better you know that how does this prompt work, the better AI agents you would be able to write. Okay. And with that, I hope you guys understood that what exactly is this important. I'll just ask one question. Maybe you can put it on the chat, right? Whenever we are dealing with prompts, whenever I'm giving input to any LLM, what is the one thing which you feel is important? Whatever comes to your mind, right? What is the one thing which is important whenever we are talking to an LLM? Let's see. Meanwhile, I'll just pull up my slides. Okay. Context, context. Okay. Prompt. Okay. Context. Great. Thank you guys for the input. And let me just pull up my PPT again. Okay. Now, so the input which I was writing into the chat GPT, which we write in the Perplexity or any agent builder or all of these advanced thing which you're going to see, that is simply known as a prompt. In simple words, a prompt is an input which is provided to an LLM, large language model. And if you see this, interacting with an LLM through a sequence of query, statement, instruction to generate the output. Benefits of effective prompt. I could have simply write, right, fix this code, do this, do that. It won't give me the right result and I have to go do a lot of iterations. However, if I am doing an effective prompt engineering, it would boost my ability, augment the model, better quality output, and I would be able to gain the full capabilities of the model, not just randomly talking to that, right? So that's why whenever we are talking to an LLM, it is important for us to understand that yes, writing prompt is okay, but writing effective prompt is more important whenever we are talking with agentic solutions. Let's talk a brief into deep dive into what exactly are the elements of a prompt. Whenever you are writing a prompt, this is the kind of hierarchy, or I would say syntax, you can follow: instruction, context, input data, and the output format. So for example, today my job was to have a summary of an article. So you say your task, which is an instruction, write a generating a summary of news article about the climate change. This yellow is the instruction. Then what is the context? From where do you want the LLM to get the information? From the internet sources, from the books, or from, let's say, a Nat Geo website. The article is about the recent development. Then what exactly is the output you want? The output I want is the output summary to be concise, informating, highlighting the key points and this, and then you provide the news article which you have referenced. So now when I give this prompt, it will actually give me a actual exact output what I want, rather than just saying that, okay, give me a report, it will give me any report, right? So that's why input becomes important, right? And that's how the prompt engineering works. Prompt design best practices. Same like whenever you develop any code, any piece, you have some kind of best practices. While you actually develop the prompts, then also you have best practices. It should be clear and concise. You can read this theory. Theory. You should include context. What exactly is the context? Apple as a fruit or apple into the MacBook? Specify the output format. How do you want the output? You want in a bullet list? You want in a paragraph? What exactly you want? Provide examples. Best thing, right? How do you want the LLM to respond? I want it to respond in 3 lines. Just give an example that I want you to respond in this structure, and it will follow the instruction. Break down complex tasks rather than giving it a huge set of input as a dump and let it figure it out. Provide the complex task into small chunks of instruction and then give it to the model. Lastly, evaluate the responses. It's not like that, okay, once you have given the input to the prompt, the LLM will understand and it will give you the crystal clear output. Over a period of time, you have to evaluate and you have to keep refining your prompt so that you get the actual outputs. And these are some of the best practices which you should follow. Okay, now I'll take a pause here and I'll quickly show you where exactly is this thing required. Okay, I'm back into my UiPath cloud version of this, and we'll go into agent builder and all. UiPath as a platform was an RPA tool. Now it has evolved into giving a platform where you can build agents, right? Agentic AI, whatever we just discussed, and which Rahul gave an example. So if I go to my screen and I go to agents, right? So UiPath has given me this platform where I can actually build agents. Now, let it load and still loading. So agent builder, this whatever you see on the screen, this is a screen of agent builder, which that screen allows you to build agents into the UiPath platform. And it's not responding, I guess. Let me open it again. Okay, maybe we'll go and yes, here it is, right? And you see that something which is called build your agent now. So I can click on that and UiPath will give me a designer panel. Okay, Mukesh, today you decided to build an agent. Let's build an agent for you. Now, I as a human, I understand that what I need to build and I have to provide an input into a plain English language. So it created this wizard for me. Still loading. Okay, seems like the staging is slow. Okay, what kind of agent I want? So let's me just go here and I just say start fresh. Okay, and there it is. System prompt and user prompt. What is the current date? Current date, and you are an agentic assistant. Now, if I have to, let's say, create an enterprise agent, as Rahul was mentioning, I need to give it a much more detailed instruction. And that's why understanding the best practices for writing a prompt is important. If I just say that you are an agentic assistant and give me the current date, okay, it will give you the current date, right? But that's not an enterprise use case. Enterprise use case could be something like CV screening. Now you have to give a background that you are an HR, you are into this industry, you will receive that and this, right? So for that, you need to understand what are the different ways of writing prompts. And that's where I present you what are the different ways of writing prompt. And this is not specific to UiPath. This is as an industry best practices. This is not something like which UiPath says that, okay, you should follow. All of this applies to any of the LLM, including the UiPath agent builder as well. Okay. The first thing is something which is called zero shot prompting. Prompting without examples. I just say to the LLM something like this, where you just say that you are a customer service agent. Okay. And you need to identify the sentiments. So this is the email body where the developer says that you are a customer service agent. Get me the sentiment of this, where it says that I want to inform you that there are some issue with the project deadline. I'm confused. Could you let me know? Blah, blah, blah. And what happens based on this email, it gives you this option that it's neutral or slightly concerned. But if you see here, I didn't give any example, anything. I directly told the agent to do my stuff. So if you have a use case where you directly want the output from LLM, you can use something which is called zero shot prompting, which simply means you provide the input, it generates the response, and you get the output. Plain, simple LLM zero shot prompting. The next one, few shot prompting. Few shot prompting means now, while I am giving the input, I am also giving some examples. Few shot prompting. So, for example, when I say that this is a technique where the users provide the context information through examples. So these are some of the examples as I was mentioning. When you're talking to the LLM, give examples, right? So I'm telling LLM that if somebody says today the weather is fantastic, the classification is positive. If somebody says the furniture is small, it's a neutral. If somebody says that I don't like your attitude, it's negative. And then I ask a question. Now, based on this, if somebody says that the short selection was awful, what is your classification? And then LLM will use these as an examples and give you the relevant output. So this example is called the few shot prompting, where you input the prompt, you generate and output the response. But in the input, you also include something sample input and the output, right? Chain of thoughts. You would listen to this in a lot of, if you're reading about LLM. Chain of thoughts is an example where a very complex problem is broken down into small things. In simple words, you have an input prompt and you ask the LLM to think like a human, something like this. So you say that let's understand your story step by step. John went to the store to buy some groceries. He bought apple, bananas, oranges. On the way back, he met a friend and they went to a cafe together. What did Johnny buy from the store? Now, this is some kind of story which you have given to the LLM, and now you are asking the LLM that now give me the response. And this is the chain of thoughts, which means that based on what information you have given, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and then the output. So you can actually provide a kind of story to the LLM and ask it to come up with the chain of thoughts and then give you the output, not directly reading this text and find me the output. You can just prompt it that, okay, now read this, give me step by step analysis, and then give me the output. Now, you might be thinking why we are even doing it. All these things was manual prompting, right? Whenever you are talking to LLM, Chat GPT, or any of your favorite LLM, that applies. Then with this agentic thing, what happened? The prompts were changed and there was a new thing which pop up which was called AI agent prompt engineering. So traditional prompt engineering was simple standalone task. AI prompt engineering is multi-step. It's a goal oriented. You have structure and adaptive prompts. You have to make sure that it can plan, make decision, adjust to the new information and all of that. Key difference was the traditional prompt was focused on the outputs. You were only worried about what exactly is my output. However, with this AI agents, your focus is on the goal. I want to hire the best candidate for my company. I want to get my sales report. Get me this, right? So that is the goal. Why it matters? Because you have to use AI and you have to collaborate with the AI and make real world application. That's why we are looking into the AI agents prompting. Okay. Now, this is our system thing, right? And what I have got is I have got some of the prompts. Let me quickly pull it on this screen, right? So let's say today I have to write a refund processing agents which helps to customer where you are getting an email and you have to process the refund email, right? So I could have simply write this that okay, refund processing agent, read the email, get the output. Will it work? Yes, it might work, but will it work as an enterprise use case? The answer is no. How would I start it, right? So it could be something like this, where I say into the system prompt, you are a refund processing agent. You help customers with processing refunds and deny with other requests. Given the context, the next thing is I'll go here and I'll say, read the customer email and let me just copy this. The more detail you will write here, what are the steps? Read the customer email. Begin carefully by reading the customer email requesting for a refund. Then identify the order ID. Look for the order ID in the email. Order IDs are typically alphanumeric, starting with ORD or followed by a hash number. If you find an order ID, note it down. If the order is not present, proceed to step number 5. This much of detailed instruction I'm talking about. Process the refund request. If the order ID is found, make use of your find order details tools to identify this. If it is approved, then if the refund is less than, let's say, $100, refund automatically. Otherwise, raise an escalation. Now, since you told that raise an escalation, what is the process to raise an escalation? And all of that is given here, something like this. Step by step, you would have to tell the agent what actually I want. Escalate refund. If the amount is this, the order ID is this, the total is this, the item refund is this. So the more better you have your prompt, the more better you would be able to write the response. Not only this, as I was mentioning, you can also provide the response in what you want. Send a customer communication email. If the refund is approved, draft a communication email. This should include a polite greeting, a confirmation email, the estimated time, a thank you email, the amount refunded. Include this in the message. Make sure that the reply email ID is exactly the same. Handle the missing orders, draft a response, a polite acknowledgement email, an explanation, a request, an apology if the inconvenience caused. Include the message into this. Final response, here is the final response. So what I'm telling the LLM is that when you are writing it, provide the response in this order, right? Now, if I would have just written it in a simple line that, okay, you are a customer processing agent, read the email, less than 100, process the output. Now I have given all these detailed context to the model. Now when this is running, it is going to give me a appropriate answer rather than just randomly giving that, right? And now here into the user prompt, we just mention you will take the following input, which is the email, customer email, right? Where email is this. And all of these are the defined templates which are there provided by UiPath for you. But as a developer, we need to understand that we need to provide as much as information we want. Okay, I'll take a pause and ask you guys a question. Do you think that the structured prompting is important whenever you're talking to LLM? Okay, cool. Yes. So a lot of people say yes, right? 100%. Because if you don't provide it in this, you'll start getting the vague output. Okay. Now, specifically talking about UiPath, right? And these are the details which are coming from the courses which we have told you to go in advance, right? If you have not done it, again, you can, after this session, you can go there and read about those, right? So clear role definition. Assign the clear role. What exactly is your agent? So for example, you can say that you are a cybersecurity expert. So I have defined that I am doing a cybersecurity agent. What are the other things? Methodology of reasoning. How do you want the LLM to give the reasoning? So you can say that instruct the agent on how do you want the agent to think. Something like, analyze this question by following these steps. So I am telling the agent that before you answer, make sure you evaluate the market demand, compare the competitor, assess the regulatory and the financial risk, use all of that together, and then give the output. So defining the, while building the AI agent, these things become important. The next thing is explicit task breakdown. Rather than telling everything in one go, right? If you remember my agent, I would have written everything in a paragraph. However, I chose to give it into step-by-step paragraph because I wanted it to follow a specific function, like greet the customer first, then diagnose the issue, offer a solution. If it is unresolved, escalate, and then follow up the consumer, right? Rather than paragraph, it is important to break down the task. Tool usage. When I'm writing an agent, think about an enterprise use case, right? Now, I want to write an agent where I want to connect to an ERP, which is like an SAP, Salesforce, or simply I want to connect it to my company's HR policies. The agent cannot go to my system. So what I have to do is I have to connect all those systems to my agent. And that is what it is called a tool. If I have to show it to you on the screen, when you see this, this was my thing, right? And here it needs some kind of application. That's where this thing comes, which is called tools. That what exactly this agent will require to actually perform. And if you see here, if I click on this one, which is add the tool, it will show you all the tools. Do you want to read internet? So for example, you are writing an agent where you want to have the latest stock price for Tesla. Now, where will you get the latest stock price of Tesla? You would have to hit the internet. So internet is a tool for you. You say that I want to know my employee email based on my employee number. Where is the employee ID? Employee ID is an employee database. Employee database becomes your tool. You have already a process which is an RPA process. And that's why to the people who are saying that is RPA versus agentic? No, it's RPA plus agentic. I already have an RPA process that goes into, let's say, Salesforce, get me the data, put it into an Excel. That process also can be added as a tool. You have an API that connects to, let's say, stock market, stock exchange, gets you the data. That is a tool. Lastly, IXP, intelligent document processing. This agent cannot handle the documents. And let's say somebody just send you a attached document, which is a scanned document. This cannot do that. So I need to have capabilities into my agent which can handle that scanned document. That capability can be also added as a tool, and this list keeps on going. Now, if I go back to my presentation, what I simply mean there is you need to know what are the tools you are going to use. So use the policy search tool, right? The policy search tool is nothing but your internal tool. So while you're building an agent, you should know what exactly is that. Contextual background information. I hope most of you now understand what is the context. You need to provide a context that you are an helpful assistant, helping employees into doing this, that, all of that, right? The next thing is output formatting. How do you want to have the output? You want to have in a short paragraph, numbered list, 200 words. You want to just in a single line. If you don't tell, it won't give you. So defining that prompts become important. Fallback and escalation, important one, right? So for example, what happens? You say that, guys, I want the agent to go into the Salesforce and get the employee ID. But what if the employee ID is not there? What should I do? So the agent should have a fallback mechanism. Today, when you go to ChatGPT and you ask something, you get anything, right? Or it just says sorry. What about the enterprise agents? You need to have a fallback mechanism, meaning that RPA agents can also work with human. And if I go back to my screen, which is, I guess, here, you would see that after the user prompt, after the tool, you have the context. I hope now you guys understand context, that what exactly is the context. You can provide a context to the agents. And then there is something which is called escalations, which simply means that add an escalations, which means if the agent is not able to perform as per my requirement, I want to have an escalation. And that escalation can be again done with the help of agent builders, right? So the concepts are exactly the same for any LLM. In UiPath, you just have to map it. And one element of the AI prompt is fallback and escalation, tone, and the communication style. So for example, if you're writing an agent who is going to reply to an enterprise customer, you have to tell the tone. Remember when I was talking about the tone? Use a professional but friendly tone. Be concise, empathetic, and avoid jargons. Right? Sometime you might have seen ChatGPT responding you that, thank you, that was a very good question, blah blah blah, right? And you're like, guys, come on, ChatGPT, come straight to the point, right? You can just say that avoid jargons, or maybe just come straight to the point, be concise, be empathetic, right? So whatever you want the LLM to do, you can do that, right? All of these concepts come together while you define an agent. This is an example of a system prompt. What exactly is a system prompt? System prompt is the foundational instruction which you give to the agent. Define the agent role, establish the rule, instruct when to use tools, reference, escalate, all of that, whatever we have seen, and you see the structure. This is the format which UiPath recommends. And then what is the user prompt, which is an input, right? What exactly is the input to this thing? Now let's go back to the agent builder and let me show you something. So if you see here, right, I have an agent builder where I say that I want to do all of these tasks. I have given all of that. And then it is showing me something in the red, which means that this guy is asking me that, Mukesh, you told me that as an agent, I need three things as input, but you have not provided that things to me. Okay, I understand. So I'll go here and I'll maybe go to open the data manager and I'll say that these are the inputs I need. So maybe I'll just control C and I'll just add a property and add it as a property. So that is the email ID. Okay. Okay, I think I'm pasting that extra bracket there. That's why it's not taking. Okay, and you can see now it is coming to green, right? So if I'm doing the same thing outside UiPath, there it's a plain text, right? We don't know whether I have provided this parameter or not, but UiPath Agent Builder provides me all these things where it is able to validate right before even I run the agent. See, this turned to green. Reply email ID. So this reply email ID is again an input. So all of this is provided here. The other good part about this agent builder is you can add tools, which I have already discussed. There is something which is called context. Context simply means I am creating an enterprise agents and my enterprise agents need policies which are as per my company. I can use this context, add context, provide that context that you would be taught into the upcoming sessions. So this is the first session, so not going into much details. Escalations where you want to involve humans, you also can provide MCP, model context protocol, right? So people who are into LLM space, you would understand that we can also add MCP servers to the agent builder as well. Now, you are a beginner, right? You are writing this prompt for the first time. How would you know that whether this prompt is good or not? Wouldn't it be better if I would have something that can actually tell me what exactly is my how actually good prompt I have written? So for that, you can simply go to this button, which is like the open health score, and it will calculate that how good you have written. Testing, right? So it says that, Mukesh, your overall agent is 34%, which is not good. Your prompt is 80%, and that is good enough for me. Why it is giving me a 34% score? It says that because you have not used any tools, you have not used any evaluations, right? That's why the score is 34%. However, today's session is only about the prompt and the schema, right? So since I have provided the input schema here, I have defined how the output I want. The LLM is clear about it. It says that, okay, you are good into this part. The next part is here, the prompt. The prompt is 80% good because I have followed all the best practices because I copy pasted, right? But if you are writing a prompt from beginning, from a scratch, you can actually use this health score, and that way when you are actually building enterprise use cases, then you would understand that what exactly is this. So UiPath has got this thing built in. You can just add more details. So for example, I can just add a context. Maybe let's add a context. Okay, I have added a context to this, and now you can just go here and you can say recalculate. So I just added a context, and now it will again recalculate. The context is not related to this, and now if you see, the prompt has loosed from 80 to 76 because the context which I have added, asset purchase policy, has nothing to do with this thing, right? So UiPath is able to understand your prompt and all and gives you the relevant information, right? And that thing is called the prompt health score. So the prompt health score is nothing but a matrix which is used to evaluate the effectiveness of the prompt which you have written, and it gives you the suggestions as well. Okay, now the next thing is you also have this small guy here which is autopilot. Now autopilot is your AI which is embedded inside your agent. So for example, let me just delete this some of the stuff from here, right? So let's say I'm writing this and I deleted, and I have just got this, and I maybe want to delete this as well, right? I just deleted some of the stuff. So now if I go to my score, the score would be less. I just go here and I have something which is called autopilot, and I can say help me to improve my agent. And now it is trying to understand the context of my agent, whichever I was creating. I deleted some of the information, and then it is working as an assistant. It says that I read your system prompt, it looks good, but you have not added any examples because I just removed it. So it is saying that add an example, which is a high suggestion. So rather than me adding an example, I can just click on this button which says review the suggestions, and it has added as per its understanding. It's saying that I want to going to add. You want to accept it? Just accept the suggestion, and it added it. The next thing it says that the user prompt is not clear because we deleted. So review the suggestions, and see, it added the user prompt, accept the suggestions. How cool is that, right? So these features, all of that combined together with your knowledge on writing the best prompts, with UiPath giving us all these cool options, it's very easy to run and build agents, which the team is going to teach you tomorrow, right? I'll take a pause and just put me in the chat, right? Do you think that autopilot and the health score are a good feature? Maybe just comment yes or no. Right? Do you think that it is going to help you? Okay, great. So I think that's good for the next speakers to get into more details, right? And yes, that is pretty much I wanted to cover into this sessions, right? So thank you so much, guys. And this was Mukesh. Happy to connect with you over the LinkedIn. You can scan the QR. I also have my YouTube channel where I teach people UiPath and Agentic. Channel is Tutorials by Mukesh Kala. Happy to connect with you guys. And that's all from my end. I can stop the sharing, and thank you, Nadia and others, for answering the questions on the chat.
Yeah.
So yes, over to you, Dana.
Thank you, Mukesh. Thank you all. So we're going to end the session here today. I saw that you guys put some questions in the chat. Great job. And don't forget to grab the quick links from the chat as well, so that you know that you can ask additional questions on forum as you're going through the homework itself. So we'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Well,
Thank you.
You guys.